So you are the incumbent superintendent and you are running for re-election. For those, let's just start out with first, so for those who may not know you, can you just talk a little bit about your background and your career and just kind of introduce yourself?
I can do that. I'm a longtime resident, born and raised right here in Holmes County. Graduated from Holmes County High School in 1973. Enrolled in college, working a full-time job from 10 o'clock at night to 6 in the morning, realizing that that was going to go on for the next 4 years, and having to do it for my senior year in high school too. I didn't see how I was going to be able to do that, and because the college was a little bit further away than my high school than where I live. So as a result of that, I actually explored the option of joining the regular Army because I was currently in the National Guard. And so I enlisted into the active Army, and I went in for the education benefits, and then I stayed in for all the right reasons and because it was in my heart. And I served for 21 years in the active military. And then upon my retirement, I actually began a career in education, in which I spent several years, 21 years teaching the youth of America, and retired from teaching, and then was enjoying what I would say the good life, the retirement somewhat. I felt that I had the perfect plan. I had went and bought a condo, which is basically a FEMA trailer underneath a pole barn, and I had a nice boat, and that my wife helped me pick out, and but that was not God's plan. And so after nudging from the above, I decided to run for superintendent, and I got elected, and I got elected on a promise, and that I made to the citizens of this district. I would always put the kids first, and I would not allow politics to interfere with that.
So what made you make the career move from military to education?
Well, whenever I retired, I had a lot of opportunities to make a lot of money, but I retired from the military because of during Desert Storm. My kid's mother and I both were deployed to Iraq, and then at that point in time, I decided that my career, that I was going to retire so I could spend time with my two youngest kids and watch them grow up. And then I found myself becoming focused on a little bit, I would say, some things that I felt was not as important, and that was the money side of things. And I had to readjust that, and I went into education because that afforded me an opportunity to spend quality time with my two youngest kids.
Okay, so as the incumbent superintendent, what are your top 3 priorities going into next year?
Well, the first goal that I would have, my priority would be the safety of our kids, and also the staff, and also the community. Whenever I say the safety of our kids, we have taken extreme measures to make sure that we have provided a safe environment, in providing secure lobbies and a lot of modifications to make sure that we do not have a situation occur like happened at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. And then now, because of COVID-19, we have a different priority that we must take very seriously, because it is real, regardless of how one may feel about this. It is real. It is affecting my school district, or our school district here in Holmes County, and also our community. So that would be the number one, to make sure that the safety of our kids, our staff, and our community are the utmost. And then the second one was that we provide an opportunity for our students to continue to receive a quality education here in Holmes County. We have raised our graduation rate. We have improved our FSA scores, and we have, and what I would say is one of the best, if not the very best, school districts in the Panhandle. And I think that's evident by the fact that and not too long ago, we were at the very bottom of the list or next to the bottom of the list when it comes to our graduation rate. And now we're fourth from the top. And I think that's indicative of our teachers, our staff, and our community. And and that's one of the premises that I ran on. And that would be my first. That would be my first, or my second goal. And then my third goal is that we actually work together and collaborate more as a community, and also with our fellow agencies, governmental agencies in this county, to provide a probably more productive, I would say, a place where our kids can attain a quality education and use that education to stay right here in Holmes County.
Okay, so on Monday, I think it was, or Tuesday, I spoke with your opponent, Mr.
Yes,
Buddy
ma'am.
Brown, and he said that while graduation rate is up, dropout rate is also up. Do you care to respond to that?
I would. I'm not the type person to sling stones or say anything bad about anyone, but just simple math. If your graduation rate is going up, wouldn't you be able to surmise that the dropout rate would be going down? Now, if you look and see whenever I took office, the actual numbers, I know there's some calculations in there. And whenever I first took office, the first year I was in office, they changed the graduation requirements to a more stricter one size fits all. There was no waivers, there was no special diplomas or nothing like that. And you're not able to use the online graduation charter course charter school that was online. And so they changed it. And so that made our graduation rate a little bit lower than what is normal, because that wiped out about a 6 to 7% because they were utilizing Smart Horizons to inflate their graduation rate. Well, the state passed a law that actually did away with that option, and so as a result, whenever I took over, the graduation rate was actually 68%, and now it's 85.5%. The dropout rate at that time was around 19%. Whenever you took all the excluding factors out of that. Now it is at 6%. So I don't know how someone comes up with those numbers, but in an interview, you can say anything you choose, and I guess get away with it. But that's facts from DOE. That's not something that I'm telling you. And I think that if you would go back to well, I won't say anything about anyone's past, but my past is pretty obvious, and the district's progress is very evident. You can see it in black and white, and everybody has a past. And so if you would choose to do so, I think you could go back to the time that he was a principal and look at his graduation rate and what it was when he became a principal and what it was when 7 years or 6 years later. I think you'll find you might be alarmed. And that's as far as I'm going to say. But, it's public record, so all you have to do is request it,
Yeah, he did. He also said that you guys sort of had a history with each other. To kind of summarize what he said that he worked with you for a time and then that you fired him for politically motivated reasons, which I'm unaware of. Is there any truth to that statement, and what part? And I don't know, do you want to comment on that?
Yes, I would comment on that. Whenever I took office, there was a lot of rumors, and that's going to happen with any superintendent, is that you're going to fire everybody. And then they use that scare tactic and everything to actually, scare people. Well, I told everyone that whenever I came in office that you have a job, and as long as you did your job, you would have a job. But I think, without going into specific details, you can request a record, and I think it would be all apparent. I will briefly say that, you know, whenever someone tells you to do something or that you want things done, um, I think as a subordinate that you need to follow the rules. I mean, you need to follow that order, especially whenever it becomes an issue for the safety of our students, and that happened on um, multiple occasions. And I will just say there was a situation that was with a chlorination station, and I would say that there was an issue about uh, key security, and I think that if you look and see if those things have been followed, that uh, we probably wouldn't had a bus stolen and we would not had things, um, or we would not have the citizens of this great county lives put in danger. And I think also if you request a copy of an organizational um, uh, audit, you will see there's a lot of things that are involved in that uh, that that actually there was just cause there. I would just say that, and you never want to fire an employee, especially someone that you have a kindredship with, like for us being military, although he was in the National Guard, and I was in the same unit years before he was, and then afterwards I went into an active component, and there's there's never it's a very I focus on trying to rehabilitate someone before I take that necessary action. But at some point in time, after you give so much, then you got to stand, and you have to stand up for what is right. And I think we need to do that in America, and I think I need to set the example.
Okay. And last thing from his interview, he kind of alluded to the idea that you may not have as many certifications to be qualified to be superintendent. And I'm not sure if you had watched that part or had noticed that, but he kind of said that something along those lines. Do you want to comment on that?
I will. I have this Florida Superintendent Certification. I've actually been through the certification program, and I also was have finished phase one of the CEO CLP program, which I decided not to take because the only benefit that I felt that I would ascertain with that would be the fact that it would cost the county $7,000 more to pay me if I was to do that. And for one, I'm certified to be a superintendent anywhere in the state of Florida, and this is not a career for me. This is a service for me. And whenever I leave this, I'm going to the house to be with my grandkids, and and also my kids. I had a very tragic accident that kind of like put me or I didn't. My daughter did, and she is now deceased. That happened 7 months ago, and I think
Sorry.
I'm more dedicated today to do what is right for our children, and because she had moved back here to be close to me, and so that we could enjoy each other's company, and that tragic accident took out of my life, but I also remain loyal and I remain dedicated to the other students here because I have numerous grandkids involved in are enrolled in our education system here in Holmes County, and I want them to have the opportunity to have a quality education, the same kind of education, quality education that I had that put me where I am today.
Okay, great, thank you. Let's talk a little bit more about the kids. Let's get back to that part of the interview. What are your thoughts on incorporating career and technical training more into high school curriculum?
Well, was a platform that I ran on before because everybody's not going to go to college. And it concerns me that myself being a prime example, having to leave Holmes County to have a career. And then after I retired, I stayed in the Tampa Bay area for years because there were a lot more opportunities there. Immediately upon my getting sworn in that following school term, I instituted a program where I would pay for the bus transportation from schools to the technical center in Washington in county, which is now called the Panhandle Technical College. When I was growing up, it was called the Washington Holmes Technical College or Technical School. And I remember there was a lot of kids that actually went over to that school, and everybody's not going to go to college. And I think that we need to make sure that we offer that an opportunity for our students so that they're able to seek a career that maybe is not required a college education. And I also have signed an interlocal agreement with Walton County Technical School, and we're working feverishly to make sure that becomes a reality, so that they can go, for instance, to Ponce de Leon schools. Instead of them having to go 30 miles to the Panhandle Technical College, they can go 10 miles to the Walton County Technical School and actually pursue a career. And in addition to that, we recently negotiated a deal where we have now sold our old middle school to the Development Commission, and we're working collaboratively together, and we're actually going to provide our, hopefully, it's already in the works, a lineman course out of Georgia. Instead of all the linemen from Gulf Power going to Georgia to get certified, they will come here and use that facility to actually train their linemen, and where they can receive their certification and they can go to work right here in the Panhandle in our county. So I think that's a line right out of my storybook, but you can say anything in an interview. And like he said, he's been here for 21 years. None of these things have happened up to this point in time. And sometimes you have to put legs on goals and not just talk about them, but actually execute them. And I think if you will look at the past performances and the things that's listed in my bio, I think that those things are evident that I care about our hometown kids.
Yeah.
And that's also the fact that you can talk about what you do as an educator and what you do on your job, but what do you do outside your job? How involved are you in your community? And I think that if you will look and see that I've always been a community, as I say, organizer, or someone who promotes the community activity. And I think if you will talk to some of my former students now that are principals in the high schools, and that I've always tried to set an example for others to emulate. And I think that if you look at that, there's one thing about complaining about your community, or you can actually get involved in it and try and change it, trying to help our community. And the good Lord up above has blessed me tremendously in the area of I'm far ahead financially than I ever thought was possible in my life. And so now's the time that I can give back. And I'll give you one prime example. We always have a rodeo parade every year here. And that there's always multiple sponsors that are politicians during an election time. And then there's only been 2 politicians that have been continuously involved in making that happen. And I think if you go back and check the records, I'm one of those politicians that's always a corporate sponsor. No matter what capacity that I'm in, I'm going to give back to our community. I'm on 2 scholarship boards way before I became the superintendent, that I want to provide an opportunity for our kids to have an opportunity to better themselves. And so, like I said, you can talk or you can put legs on those words.
Yeah. So moving forward, how would you plan to raise morale among staff? Think that that's an issue that needs to be addressed?
Raise what?
Morale.
Morale. Okay. Um, First of all, I didn't know, and according to the principals, we have an all-time high morale. Although I think this pandemic has actually has struck us. We go for an annual tour with all the school board members, and for the last 2 years, they've talked about how high morale is and how um, you know the community involvement and the community wants to be involved in the schools. I like I said, the principals talk to me all the time about the morale, but I think right now the uncertainty of what is going on with the COVID-19 and our reopening plan are issues, um, or there are concerns, and I would say they're valid concerns because um, I can't tell you all the answers because more questions come up every day. And Tallahassee does not know all the answers because I talk to them every day, multiple times. And sometimes the things that I talk to them about, um, they're not even aware of. And that's just the reality of the world that we're living in today. But I think that if that we just take a step back and breathe, this is not a time to be divisive. And this is not a time for mudslinging. And I'm not going to become one of those mudslinging. I think that whenever you're constantly badgered, and I think, constantly talked about, which seems to be a norm because of the politics, because I'm not one of the chosen ones. I'm one of the ones that those dark horses, that came out, and I'm not going to change for a vote. I'm going to keep. I'm going to stay the course because our kids' future is at stake here, and I've got 4.5-year-old grand twins, and I'm about to be a grandfather again next month, and I'm about to be a grandfather again in January. So that's the reason why I take my job so serious. And as far as morale goes, again, I didn't know it was at all-time low. But no matter what you do, you're not going to please everybody, and there are some decisions that have made that have upset some people. But you can't commit one of the 57 deadly sins and expect to continue to be an educator. You can't continue to look down a railroad track and see a train come in and drive across it, and get away with that, because that's putting our kids in harm's way. And
What do you mean by that?
What do you mean? What I mean by that?
What you just said about looking down a railroad track and
That's actually happened.
literally or metaphorically?
No, literally. And that employee no longer works. And sometimes those are political implications because of who they are kin to. And whenever you discharge someone, or you make an issue, or you make a statement and want to get rid of someone that does something of that nature, then there's a political fallout if they're kin to someone that is influential in our community. But I stay my ground, and I will continue to stand my ground when it comes to the safety of our kids.
Okay. So my last question sort of is regarding Governor DeSantis's announcement about raising teacher pay. And I know that from my understanding, there's a percentage of money that can be kind of allocated within the district based on negotiations with teachers unions. And so how would you plan, what would you like to see that money be distributed at?
Well, the Florida statutes are clear and very definitive on how you're supposed to disperse that money. 80% of it is supposed to go to the new teachers, okay, and the remaining 20% is supposed to go to the ones who are for your teachers that have some longevity. And we're following the letter of the law. We're following the money as he disperses that money. We're going to use that as it was dedicated to do, because I believe in following the rules. And I think there's a misnomer. People are not totally understanding what that means. That every teacher is not going to make $47,500 a year. That's the state average. There's a lot of districts that are making $80,000 a year. And so that's where people don't understand, because, and there's a lot of new teachers think that once they get employed, they're going to make $47,500. Did you think that is what he meant?
No, I was under the impression that you could kind of decide whether it went straight to salaries or to benefits, or kind of.
No, that has to go toward their salary. And we'll go back to the teacher morale, since you brought up the salary. I think if you'll go back and look, there's money that we had my first year in office, and of course we've given raises, and we have a good working relationship with the union. And but we had money left over, and I gave everyone in the district a percentage of what was left, based upon their salary at that time. We took a percentage of their salary and gave that across the board on what the money that we had left over. Now, I think if you wanted to, you could go back and look at the minutes from last year. I can't remember what month it was in, but in regards to where we had a 3% increase in insurance premiums, and because I had invested in a ProSave and fenced that money that we're saving on our premiums, because I felt that was the teacher's money, that we set that money aside, and I signed a resolution so that they could pay that 3% pay raise for all the employees. Pay raise, the insurance premiums for every employee on staff that was employed with.
Okay. Well, I think that's all I have. Is there anything you'd like to add?
Well, I'd like to say that I guess you have my bio there, and I guess I think I was general in explaining, but I think that if you look at my bio there, you will see the accomplishments that we have accomplished together. And I know one of the things that my opponent said that I keep saying was we and our, because I do believe there's no I in team, and it's a team effort. And I think that that everybody needs to be involved in the decision-making process when it comes to the individual stakeholders. I do a lot of surveys. I sit and listen to everybody's recommendation, and we have think tanks, and we use the decision-making matrix to come up with solutions. And then usually we determine several courses of actions, and then we have the impact on what each one of those courses of action would have, and then we come up with the best possible solution to the problem at hand. And I think that goes back to my 21 years of military experience, and the fact that I am a combat veteran. I have served in combat, and I understand the stress of combat. And I understand that we're in the middle of a war right now, and what we're going through now is something that we need to make sure that we come out on the other side better. And we need to continue to focus on these issues at hand as a community and as an American. And we need to make sure that we lead by example. And my focus is that I'm going to continue to focus on progress and not politics. And I will never, ever become political. And I understand that my opponent thinks that his demise or his firing was political, but it was not political at all. It was strictly based upon performance.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for your time today.
Yes, ma'am.